Welcome to the Game Changer 00100 show. I'm your host, Game Changer. And today we are going to talk about a woman over 40 who is married. And she talks about how she got there. The journey that it takes for a Black woman to leave a gynocracy and enter a de facto patriarchy, enter a situation where she actually has to consider what a man wants. What the? Hey, am I tripping? Okay, so I got my channel right on another. Okay, let me pause this. All right, y'all tell me, am I tripping? This is the commercial to my own show, like the intro or whatnot. And this came up, but y'all tell me, is this who I think it is? Because I haven't seen this person like in a real long time, and it looked like they went through a change. I'm gonna just say it like that. They went through a change. So let me share screens. Hit the like button, by the way. All right, so this is on the commercial. Now, y'all tell me, is this Randy Jackson? And he just got like skinny. He just got like the fat and everything sucked out of him, and this is what's left over. Okay, just a question. I get easily distracted. Anyway, so she's married, and we're going to discuss the path that she took there, how she had to renounce, get away from the sisterhood before she can move forward into being a proper wife / mother, etc., etc., etc. Because you're going to have to do it, and there is no fence sitting on it. You're going to have to completely renounce the sisterhood before you can actually move forward with the wifehood and be a proper motherhood. And that's what getting a sandwich is. It is part of the procedure. It's part of the hazing. It's part of the process that it takes for a woman to, or for a female rather, to actually become a woman. It is a rite of passage into womanhood, being subservient to a proper mate. And she's going to talk about that. But before I do, let me just say what's up. And then I want to talk about the stream that I just left, the Bernard Riley stream. So salute to Ike, Ray. Let's see. Sweet Melody Speaks. Salute. You're in here twice. Let's see. Ray Hamna. Salute. Let's see. Oki, I think that is. Salute. And Deacon Dave. Thank you. And Melody for being channel members. All right. So, yeah. So about what just happened. Listen. This was very interesting, to say the least. And that's because, how can I say? There was a lot of assumptions going on. Like a lot of people had opinions about it before we actually knew what it was. And that's because it was snuck up on us. It was sprung out of nowhere and, it just had strong overtones. Like people were talking like, oh, this is the end of the Manosphere. I told you something was coming. Something was coming. It's like, really? This isn't really the beginning of the end of anything. It's just that a new Manosphere channel happened, but instead of it being a YouTube channel, it's on print. That's essentially what happens. Because like whenever a new person comes, they talk about the old people. They talk about the existing people and what's going on in the Manosphere, and that's how they get their new channel started. So it's the same pattern of behavior that we've seen when new channels come about. They find one or two people that they connect with. In this case, is Kendra D and the other person, I forget his name. So they connect with that person. Like, okay, you promote me, you build me up, and and I get my platform going. Shout out to Sweet Melody Speaks, who's in the process herself. And then you connect with the existing people. He essentially, now I don't know what his long-term intentions are. However, he essentially is doing that. He's just doing it in print form. That's it. It's a Manosphere channel in print. But people just had a party. Like, this is it. This is the end. I told you. I told you it was coming. I told you. Didn't I tell you? I told you. 8 hours later. Didn't I tell you? I told you. I told you. Didn't I tell you? I told you. It's like, maybe we should wait and see what it's about before we start talking about the end of the world type stuff. It's just, I don't know. But it does show how eager some people are on looking for the demise of others. It really does. It's like, oh, something bad gonna happen to you. Something bad gonna happen to you. And then that person gets the big C. And then you just say, I told you. I told you. Excuse me? Like, you're reveling in something that, is very serious. And then it turns out that the big C was actually stood for cooties. And you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. But anyway, I just had to point that out. I was like, because I was on Mace Taggart's show. He has a sports channel. Salute to him. And he was like, what do you think about it? To be quite frank, I really didn't know what to say because, like, nothing has happened thus far. Like, nothing has happened for me to actually give an opinion on because I don't know. I know very little about trademark law and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going on, So I just shut up on the matter because I didn't want to look stupid. And then there are those who didn't. All right. So that being the case, let me just bring up the premiere bean footage. Now, it's funny that we were talking about on Bernard's show the concept of a Trojan horse. You see, a lot of people have their own thing going on. They have like their own channel and their own channel agenda, but they need an audience. They need a network to attach to in order to build that particular channel. Now, this channel would have topics that's not really related to Manosphere topics, but it is loosely Black man related. So say if I have a channel about, say if I want to start a software development channel, and I had a software development channel for, say 3 years, right? And I say, this is here. One moment. Ramil is live, RN. That's kind of tacky that you would do that, brother. But all right. And there we go. All right. So shout out to Ramil. Go there if you please, but don't be tacky about it. All right. Anyway. So say you have a channel, right? Some type of actually, let me scratch that. Let me say I have a gaming channel. But it's very hard to build this gaming channel, and I am a Black man, so I just go to the Manosphere and say, blah, 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 Black women, blah, 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 maggles, daggles, blah, 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 blah. And then once I do enough streams about that, I build up what do you want to call it? Like, I build up a followership. And then I say, okay, so now that everybody is here, watch me play this video game. Now that I have, now that I have brought you here, I want to talk about a subject that I haven't really talked about before. See, that's a Trojan horse strategy. You're using the Manosphere to build a channel for something else. Now, the video game analogy I gave was something that really wasn't harmful to the Manosphere. But there are often those who do. And that's because, once they convert from a Manosphere channel back to a video game channel, and then they notice that they start losing people because they didn't really sign up to watch a video game channel or to watch somebody else play video games. Then what they do is they attack the Manosphere. And they wait for the Manosphere to collapse so they can pull subscribers from the pieces of it, and then people will watch them play video games. It's kind of sad. It's a sad tactic. I've got taken by it before, and we just got to watch it. We just got to watch it, which is why we need to be more skittish about who we let in, or who we endorse and who we promote. And that extends to somebody who, did a magazine. I don't hate the brother. His intentions may very well be good, but I don't know him. And this could be a Trojan horse thing. So before, I can, openly endorse it, I do have to, do a stress test on it of sorts. There are people here who've done that. So another analogy would be the movie. It's like a 1996 movie, or shortly thereafter, called Get on the Bus. Get on the Bus was about a group of brothers who was going to the Million Man March. And then there was another brother who just so happened to come across the bus, and, he said, hey, I'm a black man. I want to go to the Million Man March with y'all. It was like, okay, cool. You're a black man. Come on with us. You can get on the bus with us and go to the Million Man March. But then come to find out was that he wasn't going there for black men enrichment. He was going there to sell Cadillacs. Nagagas need cars like cars need Nagagas. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he was getting at. That's essentially what he was saying. So he's like, okay, I'm just going out there to, since it's going to be a million of you, I'm going to pass out my card and get y'all to come to my Cadillac dealership. Get some money out of it. Now he's going to do that under the guise of, brother, oh my brother, oh my brother, here, buy a Cadillac. Oh my brother, buy a Cadillac. That's what he's going to do. Now, eventually, they just threw him off the bus because they knew that he wasn't good for what they were about. He wasn't about what they were about. So, the brothers who are skittish have every reason to be skittish. We've been burned several times before. All right. So, that being said, let me go into the video. All right, fair use, people.
There is power in healing. But we do need to talk about where this thing sometimes comes from and why it doesn't always come easy. And I'm going to talk about that today through my story, okay? And then I'm going to share why I could never submit, or why I was never able to submit to a man in the past, why I couldn't cooperate. I would say right now.
Now, That right there is a Freudian slip. She said, why I could never. And then she said, why I never. Like, that was, okay.
Now, in my marriage, I am 87% in full cooperation mode. Well, I'm in 87% in cooperation. I tell you guys all the time, I'm a work in progress. He is still working on me. I have my moments. Ask my husband. But like I said, let's talk about where it came from for me, why it didn't come easy for me. Because I believe that it's learned and then it's earned, right? I grew up with women, right? With majority women. I was actually 5 years old when my stepfather came into my mother's life. And prior to my stepfather, who my mother would later have 2 children by, my mother already had 4 children. There's 6 of us. My father, my biological father, I told you guys this before, was away on vacation. So I grew up with my mother and my stepfather. And then when I was 12 years old, I would later meet my biological father. So my mother, when I was growing up, my mother was on public assistance, okay? And my stepfather was less than productive. He worked when he wanted to work. You know, my mother received public assistance, and that's how we lived. Everybody lived off my mother's public assistance. Now, back in the day that I grew up, we called it welfare or SRS. I don't know if they still call it SRS, but that's what we called it. Social Rehabilitation Services. Said to the Black woman.
Okay. Not familiar with SRS. I am familiar with welfare. So her story is kind of sad, but it talks about the gynocracy that so many Black people in general, men and women, grew up in. Basically, there was an opportunity to have the gynocracy funded, and they took it.
If you're going to get a check, and if you're going to get food stamps from us, from the government, you cannot have a man living in your house. And when they said that, oh, they meant it. I can remember them coming to our house and doing a check to make sure that there was no male living in the house. I remember this. I remember my mother used to pack up all my stepfather's stuff because she would know when they were coming most of the time, and put it in the garage or put it, somewhere, take it to somebody else's house or something. And one time she forgot a pair of his shoes. They were in the hallway, and the lady was doing the check, and she saw the shoes, and she said, well, whose shoes are those? And my mother said, oh, those are my cousin's shoes. And the lady was like, well, what do you do? Walk home barefoot? The lady knew
what she's describing is true, and it did happen. Since then, they just stopped enforcing. Like, whoever they paid to patrol and go to these spots to, check to see if they're there, it's that person no longer exists.
Time it was. But my mother, even being on public assistance, was the breadwinner in the house, right? And as I said, my stepfather was less than productive. And not only that, they both had a habit. They shared a habit, and y'all know what habits are. So when the time would come where we didn't have any food, we ran out of food because, when people have a habit, some things take precedence over other things, like taking care of the kids and providing groceries and things like that. It was my mother who would go out and do what she had to do to make it happen. Okay? She would go to the soup kitchen, or she would go.
All right. Your mother's not a breadwinner. She's a bread taker. And when you say do what she had to do, what she had to do was overcome her addiction to be a better mother for you. That was the thing that she needed to do in order to be the best mother, not get food from others. Another thing that she needed to do was actually secure a relationship with a functioning man, but that would also involve getting rid of the addiction. So I hate it when a lot of times what happens is that they try to put these type of mothers in some type of, divine light. Like these mothers have an aura around them to where they can't do wrong. It's like, yes, she provided dinner and she was the breadwinner. Like, nah, she actually wasn't. Like everybody who paid taxes was the bread giver. Like you're basically eating the combined crumbs of every taxpayer in your city or state, rather. And then giving the credit to the mother because, the bread is coming from her stove to your mouth. So you're crediting her falsely for something that she's not really doing, offering or giving. Just saying.
Borrow money from people, or she would do whatever she had to do to make sure, we could eat. And my stepfather, when she did that, my stepfather would eat as well. Okay. So my mother has 5 sisters. I had one married aunt when I was growing up. One married aunt. We're talking about 6 women. One of them married.
This is kind of crazy that she had so many siblings. So what is that? 16, 32, 64. That's a 1 in 64 chance that all of them are women. I like to think that there was some brothers in there, and I'm hoping that that's the case, because it would be a huge coincidence that it would happen that way. But if there is, I noticed that she didn't really see them as worthy of mention. She just mentions the women in her family. Like the men don't really exist in her purview. So either one of two things. One, the 1 in 64 chance happened and she had 5 sisters, meaning that the grandmother had 6 girls. Or she does have uncles, but not worthy of mention. Just throwing that out there for what's about to come up.
But my married aunt was the BOSS in her HOUSE. She ran the show. She told her husband when to speak, when to sit down, when to stand up, what he could eat, what he couldn't eat. She ran the show, right? So all I see around me are women running the show and men missing. Okay? Everybody's man is missing. The so-and-so's daddy, we don't know who cousin so-and-so daddy is. Cousin so-and-so daddy is locked up for life. Cousin so-and-so daddy got killed. Men were...
So they're still having cousins. So this is a huge, situation. So you're telling me between a mama and a stepdaddy and 5 other women, only one is actually married. Now, I don't think that your mother was actually married. I think that the relationship that you and your quote unquote stepfather had, or your mother had with your quote unquote stepfather, was actually one of non-state sanctioned marriage. Because if they were legally married, then it'll be like, hey, who's this guy we're giving you welfare, but who's this guy you're married to? How come he's not supporting his family? Like that would be the case. So something is up. I don't think that they're actually married, which means that 1 in 6 actually married, and the other 5, and even that was a gynocracy, and yet the other 5 were just getting impregnated by derelicts. That seems to be the case here. Scary thought. Scary thought that this is commonplace.
Were absent all around me, right? So then I get to a point to where I can remember being 9 and 10 years old. I start having to take over a lot of the responsibilities in the house, cooking for my brothers, making sure that my brothers got up for school in the morning. My mother would come up, just pop up missing sometimes, and my stepfather was less than productive. I can remember standing at the stove frying pork chops and making gravy at 9 years old and, feeding my brothers and doing all these things.
That's a damn shame.
So I never saw one man in a head of household position when I was growing up. Now, let's throw in the dirt bags that existed in my life because they matter, right? Dirt bags matter too.
Yeah, they do.
The men that I was surrounded with or surrounded by in my life, uncles, family, friends, cousins, just men out on the streets.
Okay, so she did have uncles. I thought it was strange what she was saying before. She did have uncles. She just didn't decide to mention them. Maybe she's about to say why. I don't remember every detail of this. I watched it once and it's 30 minutes long, but we're going to find out why.
Could never be trusted. I always found myself in some situation where there was some type of drama going on, some type of violation, some type of, I didn't feel safe around men. I didn't feel like I could trust men. I didn't make this up in my head. I didn't come into this world and see a man and just, no, this was given to me. Okay. This was in.
Okay. Now it's starting to get suspect. Now the conversation is starting to get twisted because you say that they're violating, but you haven't mentioned a violation. What I hope, and I don't know, maybe your uncles, were sketchy characters, possibly. Or maybe there was a semblance of patriarchy there. And because of everything else you had going on, you rejected it. It's one of those two things. But it is possible that you had functioning uncles. Now, they were boomers, so there's that. But it is possible that you have functioning uncles and you just rejected it.
Instilled in me. This is what I saw. This is what I went through. This is what I was subjected to at a very young age. And so then I'm going to go out into the world. Now I have figured out my defense mechanisms, right? And I'm walking around like this, and rightfully so, right? Only a fool could walk down a line with 5 people standing on each side, unprotected, uncovered. If 2 people punch you in the face when you walk down the line, eventually you're going to do this right here.
Okay. Now I'm starting to question everything because you see that position you're in? You never had your guard up like that when it comes to dealing with your mother. The one that disappears on you? Like it's just the men. It's just the men you have your guard up for. And I know there is some reason that you have to justify it. I get it. But excuse me, swallow some spit. But you know, and also I see why you're reluctant to just say, you know, something. I want to be a better mother than my mother. There were some things about my mother that I wouldn't, shouldn't, and should never do. And you kind of seen yourself as the reflection of your mother, like this is the person I'm going to grow up to be like, or this person is genetically closest to me, so to insult her is to, you know, de facto insult me. But you're justifying that you developed a rejection of men and not women. Very interesting.
Here, only a fool would not, right? So I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect myself by knowing how to take care of myself. I'm going to protect myself by never trusting anyone, living my life by the, you know, the philosophy, you can't trust nobody. Don't trust nobody. That's rule number 2. Don't trust nobody. And then I have these masculine, this masculine behavior, right? All this masculine energy, because even my father, when I met my father told me, whatever you want to know how to do, whatever you want to do, learn how to do it for yourself. But he did tell me, but if you ever with a man, you get a man, make him do everything for you. But you learn how to take care of yourself. And I learned how to take care of myself. And so.
Okay. The vibe I'm getting from this, and I've seen it a lot, not with her, but with older women, not with women her age, but with older women. They seem to have taken, and by older, I mean boomer. They seem to have taken the advice that they want from the previous generation. And only that. Like, let's just say not her. Let's just say you have a young lady, you know, whose parents give them a ton of advice. But from that, they take what you want from a man. Like, of all the advice that's given, you know, treat others like you want to be treated, you know, do unto others as, you know, everything that's in the Bible. It's kind of like those people who read the Bible and then they say at the end, they just get that one passage and say, he who has found a wife has found a wonderful thing. Like, it's really, that's all you got from the entire Bible? Like, you just kind of nitpicked everything you wanted from it. And I think that a lot of people, not her generation, but the previous one, just kind of took the advice that they wanted from their parents. It's like, really? Get everything you want from a man because you're a man and you didn't even raise her. What an odd thing to say.
I would get in relationships with guys and they would be oftentimes attractive guys who didn't like to get their hands dirty, right? But I would do the dirty work in the relationship, okay? Toilet break, I fix it. I know how to fix a toilet, you know. Mow the lawn. I love to.
This is bad. I want to say I don't believe her. Because I'm picturing her with a man who's prettier than she is handsome. And he's out sipping lemonade while she's mowing the lawn. Now, I rarely believe people when they just tell their side of the story as it pertains to their relationship. That one I find difficult to believe, but not impossible. I'm going to accept it at face value for the time being.
To mow the lawn. It's great exercise. I mow the lawn. He doesn't like to mow the lawn. You know, he's hot out. He doesn't go out. Change my tire. well, he would rather call AAA or he would call tire service, but I could do it. I learned how to change a tire when I was in high school, okay? And I think this is okay, right? Because I run the ish. That's who I am. I'm a boss. I'm a straight boss. And I think this is okay. This is okay behavior, okay? I don't realize that my masculine energy can only attract men into my life who have feminine energy, okay? Because no masculine man out there wants to see a woman laying down on the ground, taking her motorcycle apart, trying to change the oil. There's not a masculine man out there that really wants to see that.
That's true.
There's not a masculine man out there that wants to see a woman outside cutting the grass while he's sitting in the air conditioner drinking grape Kool-Aid. There's not a masculine man out there that wants to witness that. So I get married.
There's also not a feminine woman that wants to witness that either.
For the second time, okay? And let me tell you what, things started changing for me all along the way, but I had to learn some things about myself, and I had to learn and understand some things about my husband in the beginning of our marriage that were not easy for me to learn and understand, and I'm sure the things that he was learning and understanding about me were not easy for him as well. I'm married to a very Southern man. But more so than that, I am married to a man who comes from another generation, a totally different generation. I know X, Y. I'm not sure what generation he is. He's not X. I don't know, y'all.
Well, he can't be X, because if he's, that much older than you, then yeah, he's at least boomer.
Don't quote me on that. But y'all know my husband is 28 years older than myself. And he's Southern. He comes from the Delta, child. And he comes from a family where his mother took care of his father. But his father's sole responsibility was to go out and provide for the family and protect the family. Okay? But I just came from everything that I told y'all I came from, right? And my thing is, that's all you gonna do?
Now, I gotta point out that it should not be that way. She's not really going through much difficulty in finding this particular man. If I had to guess, this guy was single for quite some time before he met her. The fact that he's 28 years older than her, so say she's 40, he's 68, which means that he probably went years of being single before he, got this opportunity with a much younger woman, who's likely prettier than he is handsome, which is a good thing. But it does reek of guys taking, due to scarcity of at least reasonably or newly submissive women, taking what's on the table. But hey, at least she's not fat.
You just gonna provide and shoot a burglar if they come up in here? I could provide for myself, and I got my own situation. I could shoot a burglar myself, that's all you gonna do? So there was a lot of learning that had to be done there. There was a lot of negotiating that had to be done. There was a lot of table talks and things, and this is why I say negotiate your contract. But know and understand the person that you are dealing with, where they come from, what they've been through, what they think, feel, and believe in. This is uber important, believe me when I tell you. So I say, okay, my husband says whatever goes on in this house is the woman's thing, is the woman's business. You paint this house fuchsia pink, every wall in it fuchsia pink, have purple sofas, but I don't care nothing about that. I'm going to make sure you got the money to do it. I'm going to protect you, love you, respect you. But I don't want to wash dishes. I don't want to cook food. I don't want to clean house. So I know a lot of women.
Okay, it's lagging here. Let me get rid of some screens right quick. But while that's going on, oh crap. All right, press 1 if you can hear me.
I know a lot of women.
All right, give me a second.
Out there like, he can clean up too. He can, and whatever agreement it is that you have in your house, as long as both parties agree to what everyone's role is in the house, then it is what it is. And that's how we do things here. My husband is he provides. He's the provider. And that I've also learned is his love language. That is how he feels he shows me that he loves me. He provides. He makes sure that every month when I sit down and write all them checks out that go to all them 90,000 different folks, not one of them ever bounces. He makes sure that I never have to worry about where anything is coming from, what's going on with what's going. We had a conversation one day and I said, we don't talk about money. Because in every relationship I was used to sitting down and saying, hey, this is it.
Okay. What she's describing is how traditional relationships work for the most part. What's going on, Nagon? And that's how they should work. However, they should work sooner. And that's the deal that a lot of Black men are stuck with, in Generation X and beyond. What I mean by that, look at the deal on the surface. So let's just give her an age of 40. That's the minimum age because this is about women over 40. So, or 40 and over. So let's give her an age of 40, which would make her husband 68. Which means that she is now living off of the fruit of decades of labor. He had to build himself up for those decades with no help from her. Now, I know they didn't get married yesterday, but he still has, okay, let's put it like this. He has 28 more years of labor in the workforce and things like that she don't. Anything he's doing, whether he's an engineer, whether he's a doctor, let's say he's a barber, right? Let's say he's a barber. And he's been a barber since he was 18 years old, right? And then at, 48, he meets this 20-year-old woman, right? Now, that's well and good, but you have to keep in mind that he has cut 100,000 heads, and everything he has from that point, comes from the 100,000 heads. His house, his car, everything. The reason why the checks never bounce, all of that comes from the 28 years that he put in before she arrived. So she's getting the benefit from that without actually putting in the work. Like, if she was washing dishes back then when he was 20, then he would have been able to cut more heads. You see where I'm going with this? So it is a decent deal versus some of the other deals that brothers are taking. Like, I just want some pussy, so I'll just take anything, whether she's overweight, fat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not the ideal, and it's not the deal that her mother could have had, and her grandmother likely did have. So it's still not entirely the best deal.
This is this. We need to talk about this. Where is this coming from? What are we gonna do with it? And my husband was like, "What you want to talk about, girl? What you know? We don't need to talk about money. What you want to talk about?" But that was what I was used to, you know. So naturally, we bumped heads many, many, many times until I started to see that when I simply gave my husband the utmost respect, not, bowing down every time he came in the room, not, succumbing to his every whim and fantasy, none of that type of stuff, but just speaking to him in a very
Wow, you don't fulfill his fantasies. It's a bold thing to say. Shout out to Mr. Shane Vicious. He says she sounds like she'd make an excellent husband. Yeah, yeah, I think that was her goal.
respectful manner, making sure to never emasculate him, making sure I acknowledge him and say, "Oh my God, that's so wonderful. Thank you. You're amazing." Those are the things that he thrives off of in our marriage. Respect being first and foremost. I read this book many, many, many years ago, and it was called Love and Marriage. And I actually read this book in my first marriage, but unfortunately, I did not get it until my second marriage. And in this book, it says that men thrive off of respect, women thrive off of love. And how I made sense of it was just thinking about how whenever you speak to a man and he's on his way out the door, he's like, I'm leaving.
It's interesting that you have to read to respect a guy. And it kind of brings into question what was going on before. Like, what was going on before in the relationships where you were mowing the lawn and he was sipping the Kool-Aid? While you was underneath the motorcycle with the wrench, changing the oil. Like, what was going on there versus what's happening now? Like, were you disrespecting the guy yet mowing the lawn while he just sit and sip lemonade and watch? Because every relationship begins with a negotiation, and that would be like a weird negotiation. It's spoken and unspoken. It'll be weird because it seems as though at least at that time in her life, the right and the ability to disrespect the guy is so important that you're willing to do all the manual labor of the house and provide. Like, you're going to do all the work while he sip Kool-Aid as long as you hold on to that treasured ability to treat him like crap. It seems like that's what your auntie did. Now, I do know that those situations do exist. And they're both kind of like laughing at each other. Like, the dude is laughing like, oh, she thinks she disrespected me as she cleans up the house and as she mows the lawn. And as she's out scraping the old paint off the sidings. She's on the roof cleaning the gutters, and then she disrespects me, but that's okay because I'm not on the roof cleaning the gutter. It's a very interesting dynamic that these relationships have, of these relationships.
My wife, I can't take it no more, and you asking why? Most of the time, a man will say, because my wife does not respect me. You're almost never going to hear him say, because my wife does.
Okay, somebody brought up an interesting point. It says the supply of these dudes to put up with this cannot subside forever. Exactly. And that's what the complaint is. That's what the complaint. Like, most guys aren't going to do that. Somebody mentioned white women. This guy is from the South, as she said, and he's older, so that probably wasn't the option that it is now. So he grew up where that wasn't an option. And if the women say you're going to wait 28 years until I'm ready to submit, then you're going to wait 28 years until she's ready to get to submit, because they pretty much had the monopoly on your penis. And the way they seen it was that they are backed by the government through, welfare and affirmative action. And they had all the time in the world to wait. The only thing that limits their time is fertility, and they can get penis anytime they want to. So that's the way they looked at it. Now, the invention of white vagina as it pertains to Black men did change that. Also, other things like, the ability to travel, things that we are exploring now, has actually changed that dynamic. And that's why, you get this new generation of scared women. They're like, oh, wait a minute, we can't do what we did before. That poor dude had no choice. He had no choice. And I shouldn't say her husband has a bad deal or anything like that, but I'm just saying that I think when he was coming of age 48 years ago, he just kind of like looked around like, something? What can I do with this? The young women are exploring the young Black women are exploring their independence. I don't want to get, benched by a bunch of white guys, for an interracial relationship. So I'm just going to, have to bite my time. It's a raw deal, but she got a raw deal too, her situation with her mother and everything. So
doesn't love me. But if you ask a woman who's on her way out the door, she's going to leave her husband, she's sick and tired of him, why are you leaving your husband? She would say, because my husband does not love me. So when I realized that for him, it was about respect, acknowledgement, support. It could be small stuff with my husband too. I realized that one day. I go to the grocery store, and most of the time, I get the groceries, I bring the groceries home, I put the groceries in the refrigerator. It is what it is. I get everything I know he likes to eat, his little wingdings and jujubes and all that type of stuff, and I put it up. I'm like, he knows it's there because he...
Is that a treat? I know wingdings are a treat, but are jujubes a treat? Is that a thing? Is that a candy or like fake jewelry? Let me know.
He knows I'm going to get it, when I go to the store. My husband goes to the store and he brings the stuff in the house. And if I'm gone or if I'm in a downstairs in a totally different part of the house or way out back or whatever, and he spreads all the stuff out on the counter, right? And then as soon as I see him, he will say, you see, I got your peanut butter bars. I got you some yogurt. I got you 2 different kinds of yogurt, okay? And I got your nuts. I got you a big old thing of nuts this time because last time you ate all the nuts in 1 week, so I got you a big one. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, sweetie. Thank you. Put the stuff away. And it dawned on me one day. I said, oh, okay, I get it. He said, I got your yogurt. Oh, my goodness. You got my yogurt. You remember to get my yogurt. You're so wonderful. Thank you. Oh, you got me nuts, too. I cannot live without nuts. So I eat them like a chipmunk or a squirrel. That's what I snack on. He wants to be acknowledged. Okay, great. Oh, you're so wonderful. You're so amazing, right? So.
Oh, gosh. That was kind of, I don't know this woman, so I'm gonna just say it was kind of suspicious. It was kind of suspicious. It's like, oh, you want to be acknowledged? Okay, how you doing? Yeah, hey, hi. Like, really? Is that what you call respect? Like, oh, you want to be acknowledged? Hey, how you doing? Right.
But me, in order for me to, I realized about myself, in order for me to fall into submission, I needed to feel safe. I needed to feel.
Wow. Wow. In order for me to fall into submission, that's just what you are. Now, because of the way you were raised, you fell out of submission. You were raised out of submission. However, it is not the responsibility of the man to put you back into your natural state. It's not. Either, just like you got yourself a ready-made product, in the sense of an older man who is financially established, he provides all the stuff. I think that's perfume and cologne. Like, I don't know if she sells it or something like that, but all that stuff that you have back there and the free time to do YouTube, that's all provided to you by him. Now, he's not asking, even though he probably should have, but this isn't like a reasonable option, especially for people his generation. He's not asking for you to struggle in the beginning. He's bagging groceries and studying medicine at night, while you are out trying to make the best ramen noodle, concoction that you can make. The best ramen noodle mixed with leftovers, and spices that you get from the Lowry season salt. He's not asking you to go through any of that. You have him ready-made in his masculinity, and you are listing the things that you need in order to be feminine. See, he didn't say that, he needs the sandwich first before he can be the man that you require. He was just that. Okay. Mr. Shane Vicious says, I bet she had a lot of nuts in her 20s. Well, she was mowing somebody's lawn, and she did like kind of lead with their looks, and which I find kind of it's like these guys were handsome. It's like, so is relative to what? Are you saying that relative to the? Well, I'm not going to say that about her husband, but yeah. She says she got slawed out in her 20s. This is the only video of hers I've seen. I might check some more, but this is the only videos I've seen. So if she was on the carousel in her 20s and it's on another video, then, that's fine. But yeah.
Like you ride for me 100% of the time. I needed to feel protected. I needed to feel respected. I needed to feel loved. All the things that I had never felt, previously. Trust was the biggest thing for me. I need to trust you. I need to trust that you are not going to do to me.
And I don't see anything wrong with what she's listing. However, he should have a list too. He should have a list for you. And I think that may be what's imbalanced here. You came with a list of stuff that your man should have before you felt comfortable submitting. However, What if he had a list of things for you also, and submission was on that list? So you're basically, so hear me out. And this is why it's a natural fail. You have a list, he has a list. He's not going to give you what you want until you give him what he wants. And you're not going to give him what he wants until he gives you what you want. It's a natural stalemate that he broke by, giving you what you wanted first. And then you said, okay, now I submit. But you're really submitting to the situation. You're not submitting because you're submissive. It's a delicate balance that, quite frankly, a lot of women don't really. It's hard to get that balance if you weren't groomed for it. If you weren't like, okay, I'm a girl, I understand that, that this is my nature to do these things, to submit, and basically I'm going to spend the greater portion of my youth finding the person to submit to. See, in this situation, and fellas, pay close attention. You're not getting a submissive woman. You're getting a woman who's submitting. And I know that seems like a small difference, or I'm being petty or something, but I'm not. It is a huge difference. It is the huge difference. It's the difference between getting a doctor versus getting someone who is doing surgery. It's a huge difference. It's getting the real thing versus getting someone who is emulating to being the real thing. It's the difference between, actually having a martial artist versus, an MMA fighter versus somebody who the beat ass nigga on the street. There's a subtle difference. In fact, furthermore, how do you think the women would feel? I'm going to propose this. Next time I go over to Sinji or CK's channel or something like that, I'm going to present that to them. I'm going to say, hey, what if I told you that I'm broke, but for the right woman, I'll be rich? What if you told chicks that? What if you use that in reverse? Like, nah, I don't have no money because I'm not working, but I'm going to start working the moment you start getting me a sandwich.
Things that people in my past have done to me. Because even with healing and all of the work, there are still triggers. I don't know if you guys saw when I talked to Dr. Watkins on live. We did the live show.
Oh, gosh.
And we talked about that. There are triggers. There's still triggers. I need to make sure you don't trigger me, and then if you do trigger me, I need to learn an appropriate way to deal with it and to let you know, right? And so men have to understand, first and foremost, that everybody is not worthy, I should say. Let's be very clear about that.
That's true.
Men have to understand how sometimes...
But is every woman who can fake submission at the last minute worthy? You see, women say that. Women say every man isn't worthy. But while women are saying not every man is worthy, men are saying pussy is pussy. You see, they evaluate us, but do we properly evaluate them is the question. Y'all remember on this video how she just listed off the things that she wanted? She listed off like 5 things that she wanted before she gave protection. But when we, as Black men, when we list off the 5 things that we want from women, I'm going to tell you what that list is. It's PUSSY. 5 things. Be more discerning. That's all I'm saying.
Times they give up their power by doing some of the things they do, behaving the way that they behave oftentimes, right? Like I talked about me attracting all these men with all this feminine energy, right? If you're not fitting in your masculinity, why would I submit to you? You behave as another woman would behave. I'm going to probably submit to you in the same way that I'm probably going to submit to another woman, and that ain't happening. You know, men need to realize this. Like I said, it's learned and then it's earned, right?
Okay, so there is submitting to somebody, and then there's submission. A submissive person is submissive whether they have a person to submit to or not. That's just in their nature. Submitting to a person is just that. So let me see if I could think of an example, because it's a subtle difference, but it's worth noting. Okay, so she was talking about basic respect that she gives. You know, men want to be respected. Everybody wants to be respected. And everybody wants to be around a person that's respectful. But there are some people out there that are only respectful when they have to be. You know, like they only are respectful to their boss, but they are completely disrespectful generally. Like they disrespect the waiter and waitress because they don't have to. Like they feel like, oh, you haven't earned my respect. Therefore, I am going to be disrespectful to you. You know, they're respectful to police officers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, only if and when they have to. This person isn't a respectful person. Now, the same thing with submissive. A submissive woman is really generally a helpful woman. And that's just her way of submitting to the will of society. You know, you'll find this woman as being particularly nurturing, caring, helpful in any way she can, whether it's to the community, you know, her local church, local organization, even if she's helpful to her own family. You know, if she has younger siblings or something, she's helpful in that regard. You know, she's generally helpful. And then if and when she finds a mate, she then submit to the will of that mate. Yes, she gets him a sandwich, you know, during that. However, when there is a family gathering, a picnic or something like that, she's also in the kitchen just for the general sake of the cookout. She's not going to the cookout just eating, saying, once I find a proper man to submit to, then I will fix him a plate. It's like, yeah, well, you do that too. However, you know, you can be submissive until you find that mate.
It's learned and then it's earned. I talked about how I had this moment, and this has not been that long ago, that I had to check myself, and it was wow, it was powerful for me, because I realized that I took my husband to a place, I put him in a position that he never deserved to ever be put into, ever.
All right, Pay close attention. If you're doing something else, stop for a minute. I want y'all to pay close attention to this story.
We had an argument.
Hit the like button.
That's one day. And it was the worst argument that we had ever had. I'll be very honest about that. We don't argue much. You know, if we do, it's about stupid stuff. I told you to dig the hole over here. I wanted to put the tree right here, but you went all the way. You know, stupid stuff, okay? I was going to do something for myself. And I said, I need to, you know, and my husband said, no, I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm going to do that. I got it. And so time went on. And I said, hey, don't forget about me. Said, I'm not. Well, he just kept pushing it off until it got to that day where I was upset because now I feel like you're disregarding my needs. This is something that I need. I'm having, you know, I need this. I need you to take care of this for me. So he had a whole plan that he didn't share with me, you know, and we got into an argument. And there came a moment in that argument where I felt disrespected. I felt like my feelings were being disregarded. And this thing came over me where I felt like he needed to feel what I was feeling and so much more. So I popped off on him, right? And when I say I popped off, I popped off. And he said, you will not speak to me that way. Look me dead in my eyes. And he's never been that firm with me ever. Never had to be, you know, but you will not speak to me that way. And I said, I looked him in his eyes, and that big old lion's mane, the Leo thing came out, and I said, or what? What you gonna do?
Okay. And there you have it. Listen, couples are going to argue. Couples are going to fight. She basically stated there that she realized, all this time she realized that you don't really have any actual backing to it. That I've only been all of this time pretending that your bark has bite. That every time that I submit to you, it's because I want to, not because I have to. Doesn't mean she's a bad person, but it does mean that she always she realized all this time that this is an option. She recognizes that she has this out. Like, I have responded to your bark for quite some time, but it's because I want to. It's not because I ever felt that I had to. I'm not bound by law. I'm not bound by anything to do these things. I'm doing these things because I want to. And I'm doing these things because you're making it comfortable for me to do these things. She kind of let that out the bag. And you're right, that is very disrespectful. But I'm wondering if she felt guilty because of the amount of disrespect that she showed him in her moment of anger, or if she made it clear that she knows something that he shouldn't know that she knows. Let's continue. Oh, yeah. And another thing, the Leo thing, this is why I have trouble with Zodiac chicks. Because Zodiac is like a red herring. It's just something you can put off any behavior that you have onto. Like she could have pretty much said anything, any zodiac sign, and that would have been the case. You know, like this is when my what's the crap? This is when my Cancer comes out. You know, like this is when I show my Cancer claws, or this is when I show my Archer's arrow. Or she already said Leo, you know. But you know what I'm getting at. She could have pretty much said that about any zodiac. I'm a fire sign. You know, she could have said that about any zodiac. And zodiac people tend to do that. They tend to say, you know, like me, I'm a Scorpio. So if I cheat on a girl, like, hey, you know, that's just my Scorpio side coming out. I had to sting something. Like anybody could do that. Come on now, don't fall for that.
No. I can laugh about it now, but I cried about it then. Because when that came out of my mouth, I looked at my husband's face, and there was a look of disgust, defeat, disrespect, hurt. And I was so ashamed of myself. I was like, oh my God, like I felt like the biggest coward ever. Like, how could you do this? Rewind, like take it back. Wait, no, never mind. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. No, she wasn't ready. My husband comes from a place where he was constantly treated like less than the man that he was. He comes from that day, like way back in the day, you know, where the people were like, no, you call me sir, you're nothing, you know.
Okay. Right there is a problem that I see with the other side. And this isn't necessarily because, like I say, this is the only video I've seen of her. For all I know, her submission could be genuine. And she is genuine, just like Chantel Simone. She is genuinely a woman who later in life found out, and I shouldn't say later in life, Chantel found out at 27, but, you know, who at some point in her life found out that the situation that she was raised under isn't the way that nature intended for men and women to get along. That could be naturally the case. But the women in this space, the way she sees her husband is the way that they want modern men to see themselves. What she is describing is a man who comes from an era of broken masculinity. You know, this is a Jim Crow South guy. And in the Jim Crow South, apparently I wasn't there. There was a lot of broken masculinity going on. Actually, she wasn't there either. But she's assuming just like I'm assuming, you know. But what they're doing, what a lot of women of her previous generation has done successfully, the boomer females were good at this, is that they didn't actually have to do much. They just had to repair the ego that the white man has broken. They just repaired the broken ego of the white man. Which means they didn't actually have to submit. They just had to make him feel, give him a place where he felt like a man. Even though society, as they would tell it, didn't recognize them as one. And in many cases, the women didn't really recognize them as such. But they got all the benefits of masculinity, and they just had to pretend to respect the guy. But they could take that away at any time. And when they do, they'll just say, what you gonna do? That's the cold part. of the brothers in that situation. And really, I don't think her husband may not have even experienced the brunt of that because, if he's in his 60s or so, then that's not really like what he was like 5 when the civil rights movement ended. So he didn't really experience all that back of the bus stuff that she would like to think that he did. She would like to feel that that was the case with him, but because that way, they could do what I just described, and that is capitalize off the broken ego of black men. So fast forward to today. And then you have these beta male coon people. Now, that is meant to be their ultimate trump card. That is meant to be their ultimate insult. Because if you would have said that back to the, Jim Crow era brothers, they would have been like, I can't believe you said that. I gotta, my job is to provide a neck for the white man to put his foot on. And how dare you call me that? How dare I know that you think it, but how dare you call me that? You call me a beta male, and then you call me the C word. How dare you call me that? That's just so awful. You have really just damaged my manhood. I've been on my best behavior all these years, hoping and praying that you would never, ever use those terms to describe me. And they didn't. They didn't because that was part of the arrangement. You repair my broken ego, and I give you treatment that you otherwise probably wouldn't have deserved. However, brothers today don't have a foot on their neck. We work from home and YouTube half the day. There's really you could say that all day, every day. Beta male. Like, I'm sorry, is that supposed to do something? It's like when the Jedi tried to use the mind trick on, a species that doesn't have a weak mind. Like when they do the finger wave, he's like, what are you doing that finger wave thing for? What are you, a Jedi? Mind tricks don't work on me. Like, mind tricks don't work on me, just submission. He tried to do it on Jabba the Hutt. Like, look, mind tricks don't work on me. Like, what, you think you're going to shame me? Because I sit on the back of the bus? No, I drive. What are you talking about? This isn't going to, whatever you're doing may have worked, in your great grandmother's day. That crap don't work now. You either get me a sandwich or step the fuck on. And figure out who's going to scramble those last 3 eggs of yours. Outside of that, your tactics are outdated at best.
How the hell dare me to ever put my husband in a position to feel like anything less than the man that he deserves to be treated like. I was so disgusted with myself about that. And I'm telling you, for days after that, I did some serious soul searching. I'm telling you, I did. Now, he did what I was asking him to do. But that was something that I had to immediately, I apologized. But the next day I had to come back again and say, hey, no, I don't know if you know how sorry I actually am. That shit, pardon my French, will never happen again. But that was that thing where I was triggered because I feel like I can't rely on you. I feel like now I can't trust you. You're not keeping your word with me. You're disregarding my needs. And you've made me upset in this moment, and I gotta come for you. And I came, child. And it wasn't good. And and it will never happen again. So when I say I still have my moments, I definitely still have my moments, but I am 95% better than what I ever was previously. I've learned, for me, in this relationship, the submissive part of it all is simply about taking someone else's needs and consideration. I've learned that for me, for us, submission is simply about allowing him to lead, learning how to sit down and be quiet sometimes, because when I started learning about myself and I started to peel away those ugly layers and see the truth about myself.
Okay, ladies. The thing is that the sooner you start on your path to submission, the better. I mean, you're out competing with people. It's like competing in the job market, and you just learned how to read 3 years ago. You just became literate 3 years ago. And you're competing with people who have masters and PhDs and stuff. Like, you are at an extraordinary deficit. The sooner you start this process, the better.
So I figured out, I realized that I have to have someone in my life who can tell me, sit down, shut up. Get your ass down. Maybe not, like that, but sometimes I need to be told, okay? And I have to have a man in my life who can say, hey, that's enough. Check your behavior. I got this. Because anything less than that, I'll just run all over the top of it. The man in my life has to have as much personality as I do, because I'm alpha all day. That's just the way this thing goes. And I need to be told sometimes. And the people in my life that I love and...
Okay, I'm going to listen to that part again.
Sometimes I need to be told, okay? And I have to have a man in my life who can say, hey, that's enough. Check your behavior. I got this. Because anything less than that, I'll just run all over the top of it. The man in my life has to have as much personality.
Okay. And that's the difference between getting with a submissive woman and a woman who is being submissive. Submissive women don't actually look for opportunities to not be submissive. They don't. Because why are you looking for an opportunity to not be yourself? A woman who is being submissive is looking for an opportunity to be herself. This is a woman who is submissive when it is in her best interest to be it. Now listen further.
As I do, because I'm alpha all day. That's just the way this.
I'm alpha all day. Who does an alpha submit to? Alpha, as it's defined in the animal kingdoms, unless she's AKA or something, which, she's just that for life. She's not alpha all day. But, an alpha actually doesn't submit to another. So, Bruce, it's not really, I'm an alpha and I submit all day. Now, the term alpha sub refers to a woman who is the leader of other submissive women. However, she's submitting to a man. But that's something different. And that's not what she means in this context. Because I doubt she's in a polygamous relationship where she's the lead wife of, his other lovers. So that's not what she means. She means that I'm an alpha all day And a tactic, this is an assumption, I don't know this shit, but a tactic of supremacy is submission. That's what I'm gathering. But that I'm an alpha all day is a huge red flag. It's a huge red flag.
Thing goes. And I need to be told sometimes. And the people in my life that I love and respect the most are the ones that get me told. You know, anyone who I have an amazing friendship with, an amazing relationship with in my life are the people that can tell me, you're wrong, be quiet. No. Go back and do that over again. You know, and that is something that I had to learn about myself, that I need to be told sometimes, you know. So at the end of the day, it is never too late to learn the power of submission and how important it is. And I have learned.
Oh my God. This chick is full of red flags. She is full of red flags. The power of submission. The power of submission. If submission is relinquishing your power, but you think submission is power, you see where I'm going with this? Okay. Here, I'm going to explain it further. Power is a means, not an end. Meaning that people who genuinely seek power want it for a reason. You know, like that German guy with the mustache, you know, he wanted power and he obviously had a end goal, a final solution, so to speak. That was the end to his means. Some people wanted just to secure a future for their family. But why does she want it? Like, you know, so she's using submission as a tool to gain access to power. Whether it's money, influence, or something, but submission is not its own reward for her. Adult supervision is right. Power being a means to an end is something that Darth Bane has taught his disciple Zahana, if I'm reading her name right. Like I'm like going off of memory from a book, so you know I know there was a ZH in her name, and however you pronounce it. But yeah, that's what he was saying. Like, you know, power is a means, not an end. And deception is a power technique that many use. It is. It's a technique that's used to gather power. And she look at submission not as something that you are, but it's something that you do to gain power. The power of submission, unlimited power of providing the appearance of submission. Okay, so the H is at the end. And yes, she later did become Darth.
That it changed my entire marriage once I just relinquished all control, you know, and stopped being so controlling and stopped being so manly and just started saying, he got this. It's relaxing. It's comforting to not have to worry about certain things. I've been that person who has had to be in control of everything, never taken direction well, not wanting to listen, thinking that I could control it all. I've been that person before. But when I started learning how to submit and how to cooperate, things in my marriage just changed. They flip-flop. You know, things are just totally different now Because now I know that being that I trust my husband, I know that he has the ability to lead. He has earned that trust, though. Okay, let's be very clear about that. Okay, because there are a lot of men thinking that, you know, no matter what they're doing or what they ain't doing, you know, you should be cooperating with them. But men got to know that they have to display these behaviors, right? If you want to be treated like the man of the house, you're going to have to be the man of the house. You have to act like the man of the house. I've been involved in relationships before where men have called me and said, hey,
what she's saying is true. I mean, should women look for, you know, completely finished products? Only if there's an extraordinary difference in what you offer versus what he offers, because you're offering less. You're offering him less than you would have had you have gotten with him, had you have offered your efforts in building him. For an example, say a young man becomes a, you know, NBA phenomenon. And however, you know, you did not wash his basketball shorts, you know, you didn't cook him breakfast, you know, you didn't do these things while he was at university. He had to do this himself. So your beauty, your feminine value, now that this draft has been signed, has to exceed that to which, okay, I'm gonna give you numbers. Say a woman is an 8, right? Say she's an 8 and she did everything for him. She was his day one, straight out of high school. She was his Aisha Curry, you know, and all the way through college. So I think they make you go to university now, which I don't think is really fair, but you know, they make you go to university before the pros. But you know, she did all that. You know, she helped him with his chemistry homework and stuff like that. She did everything, you know, for him. And as a result, when he makes it in the NBA, she gets the ring. Even though he has, you know, now 9 pluses coming at him, he marries the 8 because of her investment initially. So that is the reward. Now you can get the ready-made, you can get the person after the draft, but you got to be a 9. Like you got to make up for the fact that you wasn't there in the beginning. And we're not talking about 4 years in your case, I'm sure. We're talking about decades of not assisting in building the house you now live in. See, there's a difference between, like, wouldn't it have been nice to have bought, like, you know, Bitcoin on day one? Like, you put your investment in early. Wouldn't it have been nice to have bought it, like, as soon as it, you know, came out? But you didn't. And now, as a result, you don't rightly get the amount of return, or you shouldn't actually get the amount of return that you get from, you know, had you had invested earlier. But that's the deal that they want. A lot of 40 plus women, that's the deal that they expect to get. The same value that they receive, that they would have received had they invested day one. Now, many of them have found loopholes in the sense of scarcity, and all the women are on this crap, and all I have to do is be a little bit more, or behave as if I'm a little bit more submissive than every other bitch he came across, or a little younger than the youngest chick that'll fuck him. As long as I do that, as long as I'm the best options in a lineup of bad options, we gonna be all right. All right, let's continue.
What you think about this? You know, or hey, I want to do this. What you think about that? What do you think about it? You know, lead. We want to be led. We really do. We really do. There are very few of us that don't want to be led. But for the most part, we don't trust the process. And why don't we trust the process?
Okay. Just don't blame it on us. Like, okay. Yes, y'all want to be led, but that's not in abundance. And that's because you spent the majority of your life not wanting to be led. So if everybody went down your path, then from the moment they're, say, like, available to the market, let's just say 15, and she's available to other 15-year-old boys and stuff, on to the point in your life that you realize that you want to be led. And let's just say that's 32. You spent 17 years of your life not wanting to be led. So if every woman thought like you, every black woman thought like you, then from the age of 15 to 17, that entire demographic is unleadable. So don't say that that we want to, because you don't. You have come to realize that you need to, but you haven't wanted to for quite some time.
I told you that in the beginning of the video, why I didn't trust the process. And can you blame me? You can't blame me. And so honestly, I feel like it's never too late. It's never too late. Will you fall into cooperation or be as submissive as someone who has seen this and been a part of this all their lives? No. But it can be a situation where things will be easier and more tolerable for you and your spouse. And I also find that when that is your behavior and you are cooperating and you are able to sit in your femininity, well, you attract a different type of man to you.
True.
Try it out and see. Get back to me. Let me know how it goes. So thank you, ladies, so much for listening to me today.
Okay, that's that. All right. So I'm going to say this to wrap up. Maybe she's genuine. Maybe she's not. Maybe she genuinely was like, hit the like button, by the way. Maybe she's genuinely was like, oh man, I really need to be more feminine. I have seen the light and I have come to embrace my true nature. Or maybe, and this is going to get some of the guys, maybe she spent a large portion of her life saying, if all else fail, I will just be feminine. As a last resort, I will be submissive. As a very last resort, this is what I will do. It is possible that she has that in the back of her head. It's kind of like those people, those sinning Christians who say stuff like, yes, I'm this, this, and this, but right before I die, I'm going to repent. Now, that's not genuine capitulation. That's really just playing, your deity. Like, okay, I know what I'm doing is wrong right now, but one day I'll apologize and I'll go to heaven. It's like, women are doing this, fellas. Do not get it twisted. And it's common in our community. For example, here I be hearing about the women my age. Oh, I'm moving to Georgia. I'm moving to, Alabama. I'm moving to Mississippi. Georgia's the main one. I'm moving to Florida. I'm moving to Florida to find me a man that appreciate a woman like me. And what I get from that is that they are looking for men who are ready-made products. These are the guys who have these quote unquote Southern values. and more traditional roles and understanding of their place in it, and they're looking for a traditional woman, and all they have to do is leave their West Oakland project reputation behind and go to the rural South and find the guy who's earned six figures, and he's looking for someone to share his labors with, who's older, and hook that man. Like, so they have this in their mind. They look for certain values because these values are written and they know what to do with them. And then there's also the Jim Crow aspect that she obviously exploited, but that they look to exploit as well. They have a closer relationship to it, and they probably haven't even discovered, like, I kid you not, I have a friend from Florida, and he's just shocked at the amount of interracial, and he's what, I guess now he would be 46. I think it's like 45, 46. And he's shocked. He's been out here, maybe, I think he's been out here like 8 to 10 years or something like that. I'll ask him. But he said when he first got here, he was just shocked at how many interracial relationships he's seen. And I'm like, man, I've been seeing that since. Man, I just been seeing that. Like, that's just like how it is. It wasn't a new thing. So, and the reason why I brought up his age was to say that he's not from like, he sat on the front of the bus or any seat that he so chose and stuff like that. But apparently in what he calls not Miami, Florida, there's still a there. There's still a don't mess with them, white women type thing going on when he was growing up. So they will, but California women, at least the part of California I come from, pretty much know that if you step out of line, I will leave your ass for a white girl. Don't play that crap with me. Do not play that, because I can, and I don't even know of any benchings that happen. So there is no fear, and yeah, even the Father give me her fucking blessings. Do not play with me on that. I will leave in, there's nothing, yeah, there's some Huey P. Newton, stuff going on that, that inherited in the system. But outside of that, please. The thing that bonds us is not fear of getting benched. That is not our bond. Our bond is, the joy of you getting me sandwich, period. And a lot of chicks don't like that, so they take their fat ass to the South. And good riddance. I say, there's always going to be somebody looking to make a career, that moves here from Iowa, trying to be a movie star, but don't get far. So good riddance. Anyway. So these are the attempts that are used to game the system. The hell is a white girl fence? No, there's no white girl fence. Y'all actually have something like that? Y'all have a name for something like that? No. I never heard no crap like that. What the hell? What is that? Is that a bunch of nooses and stuff? No, we don't have whatever the hell that was. Yeah, no, they exist. I'm just saying that there's ethnic competition. I'm not saying that it'll be perfect and, every chick out here, is just a baddie and, they're desperate or something like that. I'm just saying that there's competition. Like, there's more competition and you're not limited to 13% of the female population. And they know that. But these women are going to exploit. Okay, this is what I'm seeing on my side. They're going there to exploit Southern traditionalism, Southern masculinity, Southern religious beliefs, and our religious moral foundations. And what's the last one? And just, Black Jim Crowism, the subsequent mentality of that, the benching, so to speak. They're going there to exploit all of that. They're coming for you, fellas. If you're in the South, be wary, because even though there are fat chicks, meaning that they're probably not as fat as yours, but that's what they're doing. They're going out there, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm here because of cheap housing." No, you're there for cheap penis. They are there for cheap penis. I don't like California. It's too liberal. No, you mean it's not liberal enough with the penis. Y'all are going there. So my point is that they go to certain demographics because the pickings are more advantageous. They feel that they could take advantage of certain demographics given their life circumstances. But even in rural Florida, even in non-Miami, Florida, even in non-Atlanta, Georgia, even in, I don't know, other places in the South, like dirt eating Mississippi. Y'all eat dirt. Y'all eat dirt. If you live in Mississippi, please don't eat dirt. And don't call it clay, it's dirt. But even there, the fellas are starting to realize. They're starting to come to a conclusion that, I can explore my options. But back to this chick and those like her. A lot of these chicks later in life look for love. Some of them genuine, some of them are just using their last option. And to be honest, fellas, if a chick comes to you like that, see, here is what the marriage contract states. This is the unspoken secret of the marriage contract. In the olden days, two young people got together. And when I say young, I'm not talking about what we consider young. I'm talking about what they consider young. Two 14, 15-year-old people got together. That's around the age my grandparents were. And they married 16, 17. That's just how it was. What the unspoken contract states is that I am exchanging your youth and beauty and fertility for my future wealth. And the only way to secure you getting my future wealth, because it's a front-loaded deal. You have to give me your youth and fertility first. And you're working on the promise that later in life, I will share with you my wealth. That was the deal, period. That was always the deal. Meaning that, you give me your youth and beauty, and if I become a doctor, and we're both 40, and I'm 40 wealthy and you're 40 not so fine, that's okay, because you already paid for all the wealth, all the subsequent wealth that is coming. You paid in advance. Now I have options. I have similar to the amount of options you had when you was a PYT. That is how it works. That was the actual exchange. The marriage was just to secure for the woman that if you sacrifice your most precious thing, your youth, beauty, and fertility, if you sacrifice these three things, you will be protected on the back end. And that's why they did put the shotgun to the back of the young man's head. Like, nah, this is not, you already got some of this youth and fertility. So you're gonna do the honorable thing. That's why it was a serious affair. However, in these later in life situations, you're not getting her youth and fertility. However, she is getting your wealth and prosperity. And it's not even any risk because you already have the wealth and prosperity. So they have figured out a way to get the youth and fertility without they have figured out a way of cheating the contract. They're saying when she marries at a certain age, at 40 plus, she's basically saying, listen, I'm not giving you my youth and fertility. I will, however, take your prosperity. You know, all that stuff you've been working on your whole life? I want that, but I won't give you my youth and fertility. That is the deal you are taking. Now, what are you getting in return? You're not really getting more than the, 17, 18-year-olds that married their high school sweetheart. You're not really getting more in that regard. What you are getting is somebody to die with. And you're getting certain, you're getting religious fulfillment, sexual security, and a helpmate when you don't really need help as much. These things are valuable. And I'm not saying don't go after those things. But what I am saying, and this is key, is that you don't really require a contract at that point. The contract was made to secure youth and fertility. The contract was made so that you don't take her youth and fertility and run off. Because without that marriage contract, men probably were doing that. I don't know. Marriage is old in Western civilization. Began with Augustus, the de facto son or the adopted son of Gaius Julius Caesar. It began with him about little over 2,000 years ago. Not really sure what they did, or I didn't know what they did before that. And they pretty much behaved the same way. It's just that it wasn't really recognized by anyone, so to speak. And it was more of a religious union, not anything that the state recognized. And it wasn't really enforceable by anyone other than the father of the bride. So he could come and kick your ass if he could, or the brothers or something like that. But so it still existed. It was just like recognized by Rome at that point. Anyway. So before the actual practice of it, I'm pretty sure that there was a time, and they do exist circumstances where a guy would just, get a woman's youth and fertility and then just mash off. It's like, okay, I know I married you when I was 20 and you were 20, but now we're both 40 and I'm going to leave you for a 20-year-old. And you no longer have youth and fertility to offer another person. So, marriage was put into place for that. It was put to protect a woman's youth and fertility. You were bound to share your wealth with her later in life, wherever amount of wealth you do receive. That was the deal. However, it's like, what is the contract for at this point? Like if I'm 45 and you're 40, why are we signing this contract? Like, what, you think you think I'm going to leave you at this point? Like, I'm getting with you for one, in-house pasissy, and two, just company to die with, and three, sandwich and all that good stuff. But really, like, if that's all I'm getting out of it, and I'm not getting youth, beauty, and fertility, maybe you're getting beauty if she's still hot at that age. But if I'm not getting these things, then what are we protecting at this point? Like, what am I like? Like, I can't take your youth, fertility, and beauty and run. Somebody already did that. Let's just live together and, as roommates with benefits. There's really no contract to sign because there's nothing to protect. There's no assets to protect at this point. And we just continue to live our lives. And the reason why I suggest that, combined with the divorce laws, because if you're going to go through that, at least do it with somebody who's younger, hotter, sexier, childless. If you're going to do that, at least have a situation like, okay, at least I got some youth and fertility out of the deal. So there's that. But in addition to that, it curbs that bitch. What do I mean by that? Remember when she told that story of how she said she got in his face and said, "What you gonna do? Or else what? What are you going to do?" Like, okay, that's a fair question. You asked, what am I going to do? And okay, I'll answer that question for you. And then you go. And you don't go to a regular place because there isn't a place for this. What you do is you go to your nearest station. If you live in the Bay Area, go to your nearest BART station. If you live in New York, you go to your nearest subway station. But you go to a station. And in many stations in large congested cities, they have a place there where people still shine shoes. And you get your shoes shined. And make sure that they take like that paint scraping type thing and get all the gunk at the bottom. And then those footies that the plumbers wear when they come into your house so they can still keep their shoes on but walk on the carpet. Wear that home so the bottom of your shoe can remain clean. And then, or actually, something? You could just take your shoes off and then wear the tennis shoes. That's a better idea. You take the shoes that you just had shined off. You put them neatly in a box or a bag. And then you go home. And then when you get home, you take off the tennis shoes and then you put on the new, freshly polished shoes, even that was polished at the bottom. And you kick her the fuck out. That's what you do. She needs to know that that's at the back of her mind. She needs to understand that this could happen at any time. At any time, you are under the threat of this. You will never say what you gonna do after that. And I bet you if he did that, you're going to think about that shit every time you see your man come home with freshly shined shoes. Every time you see your man come home with freshly shined shoes, you're going to think that this might be the day. This might be the day that something happens. What? This is not somebody who's invested her youth, beauty, and fertility in you. She didn't invest these things into you. You owe her nothing. Are you honor bound with her? This is just somebody you die with. You might not even have kids with her. Like, this is just somebody you die with. And you can die with anybody. You could die with a sugar baby. You could die with an international sugar baby. You could die with an international bride with youth, beauty, and fertility. You could die with a hooker. You can die with a caregiver that you give her a few extra tips with. You are not bound to her at all. Now, fellas, don't get me wrong. Honor your contract. Never say that Game Changer is an advocate, of the whole, I got mine, fuck you. I am not. If a chick does right by you on your come up, then you do the honorable thing. That is the honorable thing. You are honoring her initial investment in you. Do that. Do the honorable thing. There's no honor with old chicks. None. This is not a lifetime contract like what marriage is. This is a month-to-month lease. It's really a day-to-day lease. This is a lease. You are leasing this penis. And if you step out of line, then be gone with you. You don't have to honor this situation. I do not understand why guys are doing this. I'm not saying this to be mean or spiteful, to women or anything like that. And I know it comes off like that. And, sometimes I get a bad rap because I do say stuff like that. But it's like, listen, it's not really personal. It's just that I understand what marriage was. And it's not something that two people do later in life just because. This is to secure the woman. This is to secure a woman's youth, beauty, and fertility. It's so that you don't take these things and leave her with 4 kids. Trying to figure it out. Trying to find marriage when everybody is married. That's what marriage was about. So women can be secure after her looks fade and after she's popped out some kids. But that contract doesn't necessarily apply to every situation. So why do it? Yeah, somebody said, or even give extra tips to a hook. They're like, listen, it's like, and this isn't spite or anything. This isn't so na, you had your chance. This is just, it's like certain things is just for young people or young women. It's like, listen, you want to die? We can die together. We can die. However, we don't really have to get married to do that. This is the marriage contract is like, to protect life. Like, I'll sign like a life insurance policy, but like that's, this is a whole different contract. What you want to do, like a shared burial type thing? Like, I don't really know what's to gain at this point. unless you have people who grew up in a society like that, like, traditional values and honest woman and blah 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 blah. It's like, if and church, of course, for religious reasons. So I get that, and that's why there is a push, there's an exodus for guys who still have those systems in place. But like, really, like, it's like, here, it's like, what? You want to get what in your household? Like, why? Listen, I have adult kids, you have adult kids. Let's just get together and hope that our kids don't sleep with each other. And if they do, it really doesn't matter, but it's just kind of weird. Like, we could do that, but and we can even jump a broom. You want to jump a broom? Let's jump a broom. But do I have to sign anything? No. Like, it made sense at a certain point. It made sense at a certain age. But past a certain age, it doesn't really make much sense. I'm picturing like a wedding like this. Like, who is the ring bearer? Like, you got like some 35-year-old dude that's the ring bearer, and you got 28-year-old flower girls. Like, how does that even? It's just better to not. In my opinion. And trust me, I'm not anti-marriage. In fact, I think that shout out to Alan Roger Curry. That's a prime, example of a reasonable circumstances under the which get married. She has her youth and fertility, which she used, and they have a child. So to secure that from death or later disinterest, they got married. She had something to secure. She has something to secure. But why else? It's kind of like those people who go back to school like at 65, like they already retired from regular work. Like they're a mechanic and they always wanted to be a automotive engineer, but life circumstances made them a mechanic, and they're really good, and they open up their own shop. They got several people working under them. Their kids are grown, and even one of the kids work for him. He's the manager, and eventually you opened up a couple of franchises and you're making all this money, and you're retired. The auto shops are making money themselves, and you say, I'm going to go back to school to become a mechanical engineer. It's like, really? Really? Do you really want to do that? Like, do you really want to? I mean, I get it. It's a personal life accomplishment, and I've often flirted with the idea of getting my PhD. But I legitimately want to be a professor. Like, I genuinely want to teach on a university level, software engineering. So I flirt with that idea, but I am older, and it's just something I flirt with. Anyway, it's kind of like that. You're really doing it as a personal sense of fulfillment. And that's I understand the desire behind that. Me, I was telling somebody the other day. I was telling somebody on movie night. Want to sleep with a midget. I'm not particularly attracted to midgets, but I want to do it for my personal sense of fulfillment. I get it. Sometimes you just want to do stuff. And that's okay when there's no consequences behind it. However, there is consequences in marriage. And the consequence is having a chick that you financially support get in your face and say, what are you going to do? She can only say that if she's married. Because the answer is obvious outside of marriage. The answer is obvious. It's like, what are you going to do? I'll leave you where I found you, but just years older. Oh yeah, Childhound was there. Like, yeah, sometimes I just want to do stuff. What is it? Albino too. I'm not particularly, attracted or unattracted to him, but I just want to do it. I just want to. Could throw an Eskimo in there. All right, so it says she never submitted, but says she knows the power of it. Well, she knows the power of like doing it. She knows how much men want it. It's a commodity. It's a commodity that she can sell to men. He says, sorry, but I can't listen to this any longer. Been around too long, seen too much. And that's another thing. Because Nagon, I forget his age, but I know he's past 40. That's another thing. Like, you're gonna come across guys, and she went much older. She went to like 60s pushing 70s, to where he was raised under completely different circumstances. And even though he's well aware of the tactics that are used, even though he's well aware of these things, he's not going to jump that broom. Or excuse me, he is going to do it because he already been conditioned. And also he's of a generation to where he's seen Big Mama. He is the son of Big Mama. He wants to be raised by Big Mama. My grandma's Big Mama, even though she's not big, but everybody who's had a Big Mama in their life wants a Big Mama. They want to marry a Big Mama. If you don't, then you haven't had a Big Mama in your life. That's just sad but true. You haven't had a Big Mama in your life if you don't want to marry a Big Mama. And because he has such a close relationship to Big Mama, meaning that it's his mother, not his grandmother, he's trying to re-emulate that with her. However, it's not going to happen under these circumstances because Big Mama married when she was like 14, or at worst 18. Big Mama had all the children from one grandpappy. Big Mama been practicing cooking her whole life. Big Mama don't know how to mow a lawn. She never rode the carousel. And she never rode the lawnmower. That's for damn sure. This is a different breed. He's still looking to recreate his childhood as an adult. Or I should say, he's looking to recreate his childhood for his children. He wants a Big Mama, and they have, you, basically. So you can give your children a child. And I get it. I want that too. However, I'm not going to just, embrace a chick, who, for one, can't really offer that. And for two, seem like she just learns how to submit Thursday. Forget that. Especially if she looks at submission as power. No, I'm not going to pursue a midget. I'm just saying, like, I'm open to it. I'm curious. But is it something I'm actually going to? No. No. I'm just saying it's one of those things. Like marrying women of a certain age is just something that men do to say that they're married. To say that I am officially a married guy. I's married now. I'm like, you don't actually have to be recognized by the state to do this. The reasons that you had to do it when you were young don't really apply now. That's all I'm going to say about that. So with that, I want to thank the Cash Apps and Super Chats, managers and moderators, those who are listening silently, and those who participate in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Oh, by the way, thank you to the members, and check out the Discord. This is Game Changer 00100. Game over. Peace.